You're listening to the Multifamily Market Watch for Washington State. Apartment owners who need to know trust HFO, the leading source for multifamily industry news around the state from Puget Sound to the Tri-Cities.
Welcome back to Washington Multifamily Market Watch. I'm your host, Aaron Kirk Douglas. The top news this week: it may be the year for housing, but proposals for additional tenant protections have been evicted from the 2023 legislature. Here's the latest rundown on the status of major Washington state bills on housing. First, the bills that have died. HB 1625, which would have allowed statewide rent control on apartments and mobile homes, did not even receive a floor vote. The bill would have limited rent increases to the Consumer Price Index or 3%, whichever is greater, to a maximum of 7%. Similarly, House Bill 1124 would have required at least 6 months' notice for rent increases over 5%. It would have allowed tenants to terminate a tenancy without penalty. A compromise on the measure collapsed before the legislative cutoff. House Bill 1245, which would allow homeowners to split larger lots to build a cottage or additional home, and HB 1293, intended to streamline the permitting process for housing construction in urban growth areas, both passed nearly unanimously. These bills have been introduced to the Senate and are now scheduled for a public hearing and executive session in the Senate Committee on Local Government. Meanwhile, Senate Bill 5236, which would allow accessory dwelling units, and Senate Bill 5466, which would increase housing density near transit, have passed out of the Senate and are in the House Committee on Housing. According to the nonprofit news site Crosscut, these somewhat surprising successes come as Governor Jay Inslee's $4 billion housing bond proposal also sees signs of life. If passed by the legislature, the proposal would ask Washington voters to consider $4 billion in bond sales outside the state's debt limit to build more housing. Also still alive is Senate Bill 5197 regarding eviction processes. This bill would allow a tenant an extended period to reinstate their tenancy, force landlords to schedule a show cause hearing, and increase attorney fees. Numerous other contingencies and requirements of this bill will increase management costs. It has passed out of the Senate to the House and is scheduled for an executive session in the House Committee on Housing on March 20th at 1:30 p.m. Currently in the House Rules Committee is Senate Bill 5198. This bill would require offering mobile home residents the right of first refusal to purchase their community. The notice period for this right is 3 years. In addition, the bill imposes a $10,000 fine for failing to follow procedures. However, the notice period will be waived if a landlord pays each tenant relocation assistance of $17,000 for a multi-section and $11,000 for a single-section home. In addition, landlords would be required to pay the greater market value plus $5,000 in the 12-month closure notice period. It also requires the landlord to dispose of the tenant's homes. Bills supported by housing providers still under consideration include Senate Bill 5290 on permit streamlining. This bill would require local governments to exclude interior alterations from site plan review and help local governments move toward digital permitting processes. This bill was introduced in the House and is scheduled for a public hearing on Tuesday, March 21st, with an executive session in the House Committee on Local Government on Friday, March 24th. House Bill 1245, which would require cities to allow the splitting of a single residential lot if specific conditions are met, was introduced in the Senate. It's scheduled for an executive session in the Senate Committee on Local Government, Land Use, and Tribal Affairs on Thursday, March 23rd. House Bill 1167, which would direct the State Building Code Council to recommend modifications to building codes to allow a single exit stairway to serve multifamily residential structures of up to 6 stories. The bill would prohibit a city or county from imposing regulations or standards on middle housing that are not applied to detached single-family residences, except as needed for life and safety. And the bill was introduced on the Senate and is scheduled for a public hearing in the Senate Committee on Ways and Means on Thursday, March 23rd. Bills that appear dead include House Bill 1628, which would have created a new tier of real estate excise tax over $5 million, which would have been the highest in America. House Bill 1075, this would have required a landlord to substantiate the cost of any damages withheld from a tenant deposit with repair estimates, invoices, or other documentation. And Senate Bill 5060, which would have required rental property owners to register their rental and vacant housing units with the state. And here are the bills supported by the rental housing industry that have died. House Bill 1817 and Senate Bill 5741. These companion bills would have initiated a housing gap voucher pilot program targeted to families at 80% adjusted median income. House Bill 1351 would have removed existing minimum residential parking requirements for cities and counties that were planning under the Growth Management Act. House Bill 1350 would have allowed current buildings under 15 years old to participate in the multifamily tax exemption program. And that is it for this week. We'll let you know in a couple more weeks what is up in the state legislature. Don't forget to subscribe to the HFO Multifamily Market Watch wherever you get your podcasts. We dig through all the news so you don't have to.
Our entire office specializes in multifamily real estate, making HFO the largest multifamily brokerage in the Pacific Northwest. Your success is our passion. Build your legacy with HFO. Call 503-241-5541 or visit our website at hfore.com for more information. HFO is an affiliate of the Global Real Estate Advisor Network.